there's one more question here before we go for the demo. It just says, command for setting up AD, any quick guide you'd recommend for further reading? I mean, I think that you're going to set up AD for us with some dummy data.
Yeah.
So maybe see that part of the demo and see that in action, and then maybe you might actually already have enough to get started.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a couple of web page and documentation. My scripts is somehow the summary of a couple of guides over the last years. I don't have one particular page which I can recommend. I usually have, you can Google for setup AD and then you find a couple of them, but I usually double check the script on the Microsoft TechNet before I really see what I'm executing. So I don't just run install AD whatever, configure AD role without checking on the Microsoft page to really see what's going on. And there's something else, is that you can set up AD via GUI, and I think there are a few steps where it does provide some kind of command line equivalent, so that you can click through setting up AD role, and then at the end, before you run execute, you can see the commands which you have to run. But that it's not for all steps, just for a few of them. I mean, if I find a page, I can provide this later on. I can search the ones which I did use, and then I can provide them. Haven't them added to the.
Yeah. Right. Let's crack on.
Okay. Yeah. I did set up a VM before, just to be on the safe side, because I was not sure if everything works fine. I just stopped them. I mean, the Windows VM. I also stopped the database server, just to be sure that I don't use too much resources. What I now do is I'm going to set up a complete new one. So I take my configuration. I did Windows IAC, and now copy this. I'm going to call it, I don't know, test 01. This is also test 01. I'm going to use as a domain name example.com, company name example lab. Yeah. What I have to do else, I now need this vagrant config file. To do so, I just do a copy, then paste. I'll call it test01. I don't need this, so, and I also don't need, just did copy too much, but that doesn't matter. I mean, I have my 4 scripts in here. I don't have to change anything here. I have my vagrant file. What I have to change now here is that I have to adjust here the parameters so that it grabs the right one, because I did copy this test01. But I now have to adjust the vagrant file in a way that it is using the test01 section. I can change this. I did also set the domain name and the company name. Just to see it here, it is usually defined up here, common, and then domain name, company name, but I did add it to my test. I did add something else, something specific. And that's why I have to use test domain name, test company name in my vagrant file. And the rest I can keep as it is. Yeah. So then let's jump into this directory. Test01. Now, because I don't have a vagrant file, because I did remove the .vagrant folder, I have to run the vagrant init. Oh no, I don't. Sorry, I was misleading myself. No, I don't have to run vagrant init because I already have a vagrant file. I just have to run vagrant up, and now it starts. And now you see it does import this base box, and this base box is because I already use this. I don't have to download this. I'm going to show you where it's located on Mac. It must be a similar location on other environments. But this base box has been specified here also in this vagrant YAML file. The box I mentioned here. While it is loading, I can open the browser and show you. We see in the vagrant cloud. I mean, Stefan Oehrli, that's this guy. He has a bunch of environments which is maintaining, and they are up to date, quite up to date. I do currently use the Windows 2019. There is also 2022. Haven't yet tested it. And there are other environments as well. I mean, the one 2016 is quite old. And while running or executing vagrant up, it also checks if the image which is locally stored is the latest one. This is now taking longer than expected. Just go to my home folder. And you see here in the .vagrant folder, in my home folder, there's a folder called boxes. There are these boxes stored. Yeah, they're quite large. I mean, I think the one which we're currently using, this is this one. Yeah, I have multiple of them, so it is updating the ones. That is why I have the, how should I say, the old one is still there and can be maintained by vagrant and remove old one, etc. Another command by heart. I think it's vagrant boxes and they can list the boxes which are available. You see, I have this different version and the Oracle one and the so. Yeah, it did proceed. So it did copy the box and it started to set up the VM. As you see, it does create a VM with my name, test01, and the domain name which I did choose. It's running now the pre-boot stuff, and when I check it in the VirtualBox, I see now that I do have here my test01 ready. And in the preview, you did even see that it is booting and preparing. We have to be patient a little bit until it is starting with the bootstrap part. As you see, it's booting Windows a couple of times before it starts to set it up.
Yeah, this is quite common. I think the amount of time it takes is like there's some equation in there, so it's directly proportional to the amount of people watching. I'm sure it's like 10 times longer than it does when you haven't got anyone watching.
Yeah. While it is booting, it's still booting. I mean, the stuff which I have here for the Oracle database, it's more or less similar. If I show you this one here, I have the same, the background file, I specify a bit different variables, and below I have different scripts which I do use. I have common scripts which are valid for all environments. So I use the same shell script on all environments to set up the Oracle database software. And the only difference here is that this setup script, they just expect that the software is located or available here. Yeah. Okay. In the meantime, while letting Windows set up, I mean, I will provide you the slides. I have quite a couple of slides more. Hold on, I can. So, I can show you what I'm doing. For instance, when I use it with Terraform, till we have here a bit more green text in the terminal. When I use the whole background setup, the whole configuration setup for Terraform, I basically have a set of modules which I use to set up my system. Everything stored in a Git. In particular, we use Azure DevOps internally at Trivadis. I then execute the Vagrant configuration and run the Bootstrap configuration to set up the database server, the Windows server, in a similar way as I did it for the Vagrant setup. There's one difference is I haven't yet been able to run or configure the Bootstrap script in a way that it is setting up the AD correctly in terms of running this script, reboot, running the Sabbath script, etc. So I haven't been able to configure this in a bash boot PowerShell or a PowerShell Bootstrap script which can handle this. So it requires that this is done either manually or that it is done via other tool like Ansible. So, but I haven't yet time to have it, and since I really rarely set it up, I usually just run and configure a plain empty Windows server, and then I just run my script. So I then really just go to the server, and I just say run this script which I mentioned before with the download AD lab, and then run script 1, 2, or 3. If you have time, I can show this as well. And here I have a rather complex setup for Terraform that I store everything in Azure DevOps, and we have been building pipelines which are deploying the Terraform configuration to an admin server to the Oracle Cloud in an object store, and then at the end we can really basically every body internally can deploy such a lab within a couple of clicks into the Oracle Cloud, except the Windows configuration. See, it proceeds a little bit. It finished here the configuration. So the initial boot configuration, as we see, it maps this directory which I specify, so the default one, the default background one, then the additional one, the lab, and the common one. Then here it starts with the initialization, so with my init script. And the green is always, when the output is green, everything is fine here. And if it's red, then I have an issue. So it starts with the init script. I set a default password, which is rather simple for my lab. It downloads the latest version of the AD lab. That's the first part. And then it starts with the second part. So the second script, where it run the install AD role. And now this is where it begins to be interesting. So here at this point, it starts really to set up the AD. For easier troubleshooting, I print out a couple of stuff always to the log file, to the screen, because it's a test lab. It's not really a problem usually. Yeah. So here it installs it does load the configuration, the default password. Then it installs the AD role. And this is now where we see the output of this tool, where it installed the AD part. This takes a while, and when it's done, it will reboot the system. We can see it here. Oops, sorry. Basically, we can already log into the system. We can start using it. I just usually try to avoid it to log in before it is done, just to make sure that that nothing happened. Here, the second part of the first script is executed, so the install AD role has been finished. And then I'll start to install this Chocolati script, so this packet manager for Windows. It's getting downloaded as well from the internet and installed. Now it's rebooting the first time. And as soon as it's back, it starts with the part 2 of the installation. In the meantime, I can give you a preview on the AD script. So what has been done here is AD lab said it did run install AD role. So basically the whole stuff here, that's just right host, that's just logging information. The important part is that it gets the feature, so the server manager and the AD domain service feature will be installed. I do relax the password complexity because it's a lab environment, and I really would like to make my life easier. And since it's just locally on my laptop, I can say, yeah, it's easy to reduce the password complexity, and then that's why I execute this part here. Can be commented out, but then the password has the default complexity, which means I don't know the details what the default complexity is, but it must be special characters. I think at least 16 or no 12 character longs, etc. And then this is the basic part where it does install the Active Directory domain server. So this is basically the command which is installing the whole stuff. And this is also the part which take a moment. And when it's done, it just prints out the latest configuration, and then it's finished. And the Chocolati here, which did run, that's really simple. I download the script. There's a command to download the script and run it in one shot. Yeah, that's what I'm doing here for this packet manager. In the meantime, it was finished rebooting, and it started lab part 3. It first add the lab company, means again here print out of all the settings and configuration, and we see here it did choose the domain name which we selected in the background config, and we also see here the organization unit for people and for the groups. The user one is the default from AD, and the people and the user, I haven't shown this before, but these two people and the user, they can be modified as well in background config. So basically here, these are the two ones here. So it could be also something different. If you don't like people and user, you can specify anything else. Yeah, as soon as this is done, I run the script service principal, which add a couple of service principles based on a host file. I do use this for configuring configuring Kerberos authentication. So these users are created within the AD. You can have a look later on how they look like. Then I configure the DNS. Basically, it just creates a reverse lookup zone. and it adds a couple of host names. And the last script of part 2 is this a sum up script, and the sum up script basically just executes the information, what kind of feature and tools are installed. And you see here that Active Directory service has been installed, DNS server, a bunch of other things have been installed. This summary is just part of this 19. It is basically the output of where you are. It's in here, I cannot find it. Here. Get Windows feature, and that's the one which displays what has been installed. And you see there is no certificate authority currently installed. It has been postponed. It will be done at a later stage. So it's done. Here again, it does reload, means reboot the system. It's getting faster now, seems, or I'm talking longer. It starts part 3. It runs the tool installation, and the tool installation, I just install a bunch of script with using Chocolati. You see, I install putty, WinSCP. I also install stuff like there you are, putty here, MobaXterm, and a bunch of other things. So this can be, if you say, no, I don't want this tool installed, just remove the script. Here, throughout this lab, in our test environment, script, you say, no, this tool I don't want to have. Then you just remove the, the script here, and then the tools will not be installed. It installed, beside putty, it also installed total command, the Git, and Visual Studio Code. Yeah, stuff which is available via Chocolati packet installer. Could have removed this for demo, then it would be a bit faster installing it. So jumping. I think script I did show all. I will explain here this stuff. We can look in them later as soon as it's done. Just in the meantime, I mean, if I have I did set up a cloud-based environment earlier this afternoon, which so I did use OCI stacks. Here we go. And my environment I can access my environment via Guacamole, Apache Guacamole server. So when I use to set up this lab environment in the cloud, I usually set up also this Guacamole to be able to access the environment, and then I can easily access via browser and connect to the Windows server. And this Windows server now has nothing installed. I mean, basically, it has the tools installed in the same manner as with the how should I name it, with the Chocolati, but it does not have yet Active Directory configuration. This has been done manually. I can do this by running it as administrator. Just to double check here, we see the server roles. There's nothing, no zero role installed. It's still loading, but you can check even with the tools. There is no Active Directory tools available. And to install it here, sorry, I basically use exact the commands which I have specified before. Just go and copy paste them in here, the same which I do with the init script. I did specify the URL. I create a stage folder, and then I start to download it. So folder is created. I'll download my zip file. I'm going to unpack it. Also change the name. Just cosmetic. So we can go now to the lab, and now I have here the same script as I defined in AD lab. I can go to my configuration file. I could potentially update this default configuration. Modify modify the host name and this parameter. And when I'm happy with this, I can start executing it. So I don't change this now on this environment. I can start with installing it. And it does now configure the AD Active Directory environment manually. So I just have to step through this different script. Basically, in this case, I can even follow the sequence because I run it manually. I have to. It's quite simple and straightforward. It takes a while here now until he has the first one executed. It downloads the software to deploy the AD role. Then it runs the AD role exactly the same as it did here. Here it takes quite a while till he's done. I should have removed the tools script. Sorry for that. I tried to go to the test environment myself and run grant RDP. So I have everything installed except the certificate authority, but for test purpose, this is not okay. So see, I'm logging in with the default Vagrant user. First time login, so it takes a moment. You see the tools which have been installed. We can go here to the server manager, and we now see in the server manager that it has a bunch of tools installed. I hope you can see that the font is a bit small. But you see there is much more Active Directory user and computers. Can start, and we now have it up and ready. And you see here the roles which has been installed, the AD server, the DNS server. There are also a bunch of other tools for configuring DNS on AD. Oh, it's not in the background. And if you use this Active Directory using computers, we see my domain name is example.com as I have specified this. I have here the default user, which are the default Active Directory user created by default by Windows. Then I can go to the people. I have my organization unit, accounting. I have my user Clark in, and you see the email is specified as jimclark@example.com. Account information. It's also the Windows pre-logon. It's also set to example. So everything is specified in a way that I can start using it. The groups. Yeah, this is a, how should I say, a minor issue. The group name haven't been changed, so it's still Trivadis Lab, the group. So it's not, should be example lab, but it hasn't been changed correctly. So this is how we set up the Windows part, and we're up and ready to use Windows. And in the meantime, it has been, it's still finishing here. The software has been installed. Chocolati has been done. Last part, it is doing certain configuration, Oracle stuff, and then here to configure the certificate authority. And as soon as this is done, we are up and ready with I would say Active Directory server as you need it to set up some engineering stuff. Jumping back shortly to the browser, where I did start it as well. You see, it has done the setup here. Here we have to do the restore ourselves, and then we can do the rest. And then it just takes a couple of minutes more because you have to run it manually. But at least you have everything together. So if you go through this list here, you have the same as you would have to run here. And here my background is now finished.
Yeah, finished. Yeah.
Yes, here there's an error, but that's just a C30 utility which had an issue. It wasn't able to export the key. I tried to export a certain root certificate and just complain about something. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope. Oh, sorry. I hope this helps. You can use it. Feel free to have a look at the GitLab to start using it. To just drop me a line, or if you see something which doesn't work. Yeah. The slide.
That's before you come inundated with forms to fill in from Accenture.
Oh, yeah, probably. I don't know yet if it's still possible. No, it's still.
You've got years and years worth of training to catch up on now, ethics training and all that.
Okay. The funny thing is the GitHub repository runs below my name, so it's therefore it's loosely related to Accenture. Yeah. I mean, the presentation has a couple of slides more. It's just the use cases which I described and some IDs. I mean, you find this information in the web from me, from my public appearance, from my presentations. I put everything together. I can send this to Dennis, and feel free to have a look. If you start engineering Oracle, then it's also okay. Yeah. That's it from my side. I don't know.
Oh, we have a question. We have a question from Mike. From Mike, it's in the chat.
Oh yeah.
I see.
Yeah, he says, "Do you think it would be possible to replicate the functionality of the AD Lab with Samba or FreeIPA without the need for Windows?" Any reason not to use it?
I think it may be possible. I did look into Samba. I did use Samba years ago for other purpose. I had a short look into Samba when I tried to engineer Kerberos authentication together with Oracle databases, but then I stick into the point where it was not compatible, and I didn't know if it was the problem because Oracle cannot handle that now the other side is Samba or something else. So that's why I give it up. But I would say for a lot of things you can use Samba quite well, I would say. Yeah. I see. Yeah, that's my reason. Same reason why I have it. The last stuff with the AD setup.
Yep. Great.
Yeah. You did a lot of stuff then as well. It wasn't just the AD stuff. It was also Oracle as well, wasn't it? And obviously the certificates and everything.
Yeah, I mean the Oracle stuff as well. I haven't shown this yet. I mean, I did set it up as well. You see it in the script. It's the same method, the same principle. With saying up here, it's a bit further down. It's slightly different. No, here we go. No, 20. It's my 20. 21. It's slightly different that we have to specify a different box, the VM name and configuration, and then you have to specify the software, and this is an environment variable which will be set on Linux, and then it finds the right package, and then it's done. That's.
I just want to thank you very much for coming on and giving the demo and going through it all. You went through it in a lot of detail. Mm-hmm. So if people are trying to replicate what it is that you've done, I think going back to the video will actually help them answer their own question, you know, because you've actually showed all the files and what's configured where and how it fits together. So yeah, a very thorough job. So thank you very much, Stefan.
Yeah, you're welcome. And